Hey everyone, welcome back to But Why Though, and today But Why Though reviews Ultraman Rising. I'm Kate and I'm here with Raphael,
Hello.
and I am really happy I watched this movie. Just to start off with that. For those of you who don't know, this is the synopsis for the film. It's a Netflix original, correct? Yeah, it's a Netflix
Yes.
original. And the synopsis is with Tokyo under siege from rising monster attacks, baseball star Ken Sato reluctantly returns home to take on the mantle of Ultraman. But the Titanic superhero meets his match when he is forced to adopt a 35-foot tall fire breathing baby kaiju. Sato must rise above his ego to balance work and parenthood while protecting the baby from forces bent on exploiting her for their own dark plans. It's so good. I don't like kids, and this is so good, but I'm jumping the gun. Raphael, what were your expectations for this movie?
Extremely high, Kate. The moment that this image right here, the moment that came out, I was like, this looks incredible. This is the most beautiful image I've seen in a while. Uh, I was really looking forward to it. I trust the director, Shannon Tinder. I like everything he's done, which is
Mhm.
not a lot,
Lost
but still,
Ollie.
like he made Los Olis really good. He created Kubo the Two Strings before that was taken away from. I don't know this whole story. Um, but yeah, I was very much looking forward to this.
Yeah,
Even though
I
I should say, I don't know about you, I am not a big Ultraman guy. I just don't know enough about the franchise. I love Shin Ultraman. I really like SSS's Gridman, which is not an Ultraman, but it's Ultraman adjacent. But yeah,
yeah, I think that I like Ultraman, but I haven't seen that many Ultraman movies, if that makes sense. Like Shin
sure. I like the
Ultraman,
concept,
I
but
love
not
Shin
but
Ultraman.
not
I
familiar.
love kaiju films in general,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I've never like Ultraman hasn't really been where I've invested time because Big Human is less interesting than Big Monster. So,
Yeah.
it's not that I like Ultraman, I just don't know Ultraman. And I think that that kind of gave me some interesting footing to come into this with because some of the concepts were new to me, but ultimately I think it really works. And I think for expectations wise, I also like Shannon Tyndall. I loved Lost Ollie. And I think for me it was that first teaser that came out where I saw the animation style and I would say like the clear vision for what was happening. And I think that that just made me excited. I didn't know what to expect, but I
Mhm.
was excited. And I think going into like what I think is really good about the film is the fact that it plays with well-known tropes of things and then kind of like goes past them. Like it's never constrained in the little boxes of what should be happening. It's more focused on like if this was a real person, if this was something grounded, this would be happening so far as like character trajectory and growth. And
Oh yeah.
I think it's really good. Also, Ken's hot. Kenji Sato,
Yes.
call me.
Yes. My God. Yes.
So what first off, what did you love about the film?
Everything. As I was telling right before we hit record, I love the animation. First and foremost, I think this is I think this is the best animated movie of the year so far, which is not saying a lot because I haven't seen that many other ones that have been good. Uh, Mostly because there hasn't been that many releases yet, I think.
Yeah.
But regardless, I think like this is one of the best looking animated movies in a good while.
Yes.
Like I think I wrote in my written review that like not to compare everything to Spider-Verse, but it hit me in the way that like, oh, this is a fresh new thing. The way I was hit when the first Spider-Verse
Yeah.
came out, in like, oh, they're doing something new. If only like just the colors. Again, this image right here. That was what piqued my interest in the beginning. Just like the use of color in this movie, the use of the lighting, especially for a Netflix release.
Mm-hmm.
This looks so good. I've seen it twice now, and I've seen it again next week. And just I seen it like in broad daylight, and there's no issue with like scenes set at night. I think the lighting is really good. The use of imagery, like there's some clearly. I mean, it's a Japanese property, of course, but
Yeah.
there's some clear like anime and manga inspiration, just like the poses
Yeah.
and the understanding that like you don't need a lot of movement if you can strike a really cool pose. And there's so many here. Again, like this image right here. And the movie's filled with them. Like this movie's designed uh, to supply wallpapers for nerds for like at
Oh,
least
yeah.
3 years.
Yes, 100%.
So many wallpapers.
Well, and I think that like you bring up a good point. I think one of the things that I found really beautiful about it was just the fact that there was a reverence for Japanese pop culture and not just Ultraman as a property, but the impact that Ultraman has had on Japanese culture. And you see it from like the people on the street who are in love with Ultraman. Like I think that that's something that like really
Yeah.
spoke to me was that when Ken takes on the role of Ultraman, he's not taking it on in a vacuum. He's taking it on within the legacy of his father. He's taking it on for a public who already knows who Ultraman is, who has expectations of him, and it makes it more interesting because it's not the same story that we see, oh, person gets powers, person starts being hero, person like that type of thing. It's like, oh yeah, no, he's the new guy and he has to make sure that people still love them the way that they loved his dad. And I think that that's a very different way to navigate the relationship to the the hero and the city that is supposed to represent him. And I think that that is something that the film does really well because it uses almost like the long legacy of Ultraman outside of what's happening in the film as a way to inform what is happening in the film. And I think that it's a way to be really reflexive on the ideas that it's trying to put forward. And I think that that's a type of reverence that you can't teach. And I think that that's the type of reverence that is special in film, where it is not kind of consumed by the stuff that it's inspired by or the lineage that it's taking on, but it's creating a new path in it. And I think that that's hard to do. Like that is extremely hard to do. And I think that this film nails it. Um, I think you're
Yeah.
out.
On that, like,
Yeah.
there's the fact that to your point about just like reverence for the source material for Ultraman as a franchise, and just I think just Tokusatsu in general,
Yeah,
uh, like Ultraman was like it's created by like the guys who made Godzilla. And, like there's a lot of
exactly.
like kaiju love in here. There's references and Easter eggs to like kaiju from even outside Ultraman.
Yes.
Even there's some Super Sentai stuff in there that I really liked.
There's a lot of Super
Uh,
Sentai stuff in there.
there's a lot of Super Sentai that I freaking love it. And to your point about like the legacy, just like the thing is, I love this movie. I think, and we can get into that later, but I think it is one of the best adaptations of a Japanese property made by Americans
Yeah.
that I have seen. And and I think like what it does so well is that it recognizes that this is a kaiju movie, but also a family movie, but also a superhero movie straight up. And I
Yeah.
think it works in all of those. Like it works just as a straight up. If you look at it like any sort of superhero right now, and and this is, I think, one of the best superhero movies we had in a
Oh
good while
God. Yeah.
because of what you're saying. Like there's the ideas of legacy, which I think like I like that we're starting to get now in American movies.
Hmm.
Because of the longevity of like these franchises, we're just starting to get that. The movie comes along and does in like 25 minutes, you're already on board and like, yeah, I
Yes.
understand everything here. Um, and that's what like it's not really a negative thing, but just we talked about this before the concept of using simplicity as universality. I think
Yes.
the idea like when you look at it on paper, Ken's story is very much like the Iron Man story.
Yeah.
Like Jerk learns to be a hero, really. And I think that there's a reason that formula has worked so many times before, and it does here so well because not only are you introducing this character and this world, but you're introducing a huge, like 50-year-old franchise to people who have no idea what it
Yeah.
is, and it works really well.
It does. Like I could see this really easily being like an entryway into now they're gonna go watch Shin Ultraman and now they're gonna go watch like
Yeah,
and explore like what I don't even just want to say Ultraman, but like what the genre of this is like they're gonna get into it and crawl into it and see so much more. But I think you're right in that like I'm kind of blown away that this is a Western animation because it
yeah,
doesn't how do I say it? It doesn't strip away the cultural uniqueness of Ultraman or the fact that this is happening in Japan or the fact that Ken's
Oh
relationship
my
to
God,
his
yes.
family and his identity are Japanese. It doesn't try to strip that away and make it a universal story, which is what we usually see when Americans
Yeah,
take over a Japanese property and then make
yeah.
something for other Americans. No, like
So one thing about that, yeah, sorry,
no, it's like this keeps it whole and it doesn't try
yeah,
to shave it
yeah,
down. And instead, that uses Ken's time in America as a bridge to
yeah.
understanding those differences in a very unique way.
So I think one thing about that is from what I read, the director tried to make this movie like 20 years ago without it being an Ultraman
Yeah.
story. Like he wanted it to be an Ultraman story, but when he knew that wasn't going to happen, he just made it a story about a guy and like a kaiju. And it was basically Ultraman without saying it was Ultraman. And only later was it fitted to be an Ultraman
Oh, wow.
story. So I think what that does is that it allows them, it forces the movie to just work on its own before you get into the recognizable
Yeah.
franchise. And
Yeah.
what that does is that by the time you're making an Ultraman movie, as you're saying, they because I think it is a co-production with the owners of Ultraman, Suburaya Productions, uh, in that they don't make the protagonist American or white. They don't move the story to Kansas for no reason. These are Japanese characters played by Japanese American voice actors for a story set in Japan, and it makes perfect sense. And there's no
Yes.
disconnect at all. And I think that's again because I think that part of it is like it's animation, so it's one easier to approve from a studio standpoint. Uh, but then like and this movie will not work as well as it does without the
Yeah.
animation
And
part of it.
yeah, no, I completely agree. Which I think my next favorite piece of animation outside of just like there are glimpses of different types of animation styles like throughout the entire film where like they use it to build
Yeah.
atmosphere, to build action. Like it has a very definitive voice, but that voice doesn't kind of stay in the same octave the entire time. Like it moves to fit like the narrative. And I think that that's really amazing, specifically from an animation standpoint, because it's using everything that animation as a medium allows you to use to tell your story. But I think to that point, my other favorite thing is sweet little baby Emmy, the beautiful little girl.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily like stories centered around kids. I'm not gonna have kids. Kids in movies are annoying. Um,
But it's
Emmy's
a
a
baby
little
kaiju, it's
baby.
different.
No, so
It's
this
a
is the
little
thing.
baby
No, but
kaiju.
this is the thing.
But it's also
So
literally a baby.
so
Yes.
she's a little baby kaiju. The design is stellar and gorgeous.
Perfect.
Like the way that
Yeah.
like they make her like she doesn't have fat rolls, but you just know that there are little baby fat rolls on her legs and it's this is what
She
I'm saying.
moves like there's a baby in a
Yes.
suit.
Yes.
And I
No,
love it.
that's what it is. Like they have taken this very cute kaiju design and actually anthropomorphized it in a way where you can't tell me that that's not a baby. And I think that what that does very, very easily for the audience who may not be bought into boy raises a man raises kaiju is it makes that emotional connection to Emmy in the same way that you're seeing it build up from Ken. And I think that that's not just smart and like executed well. I think what it does is it makes it easy for the audience to see this as a universal story and put themselves into it because I like one of the things that the film does narratively is I think traditionally when we get legacy stories in the United States, not from like a superhero perspective, but for, and I guess kind of in a superhero perspective,
Hmm,
but
hmm,
in like a family drama, it is
hmm.
my parent is going to force me down this path and I have to do it and I hate them for it. And I'm going to end this by leaving the path entirely and not doing anything. And that's not what you get. Like I think Ken as a character is really amazing because he comes in arrogant, selfish, and he's Ultraman out of spite and nothing else.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But the movie isn't about him not being Ultraman or breaking from his family legacy. It's about him understanding what parents do for you, what they sacrifice for you by becoming a parent himself and taking on the legacy wholeheartedly. And I think that that is a very unique narrative element that this film has that is positive about family and positive about rebuilding family after it's been broken that we just don't get now. Like we
No,
don't get those stories. And like I'm all for it cutting off the parts of the family tree that are rotting, but like sometimes it's nice to just see somebody actually fall back in love with the family that they're from. And I think that that's really special. And I can't name
and the thing
another
like
movie that's done that recently.
I yeah, no, I don't know if I can. Uh, but yeah, no, absolutely. I think there is something special in the way that it makes you understand everyone's perspective,
Mhm.
and in a way that you understand why, like as you're saying, like, yeah, cut that man out of your life. But then you're like, well, but I wouldn't mind if you don't. And then you actually like, yeah, no, but like, welcome your dad back in and stuff. And I think like, yeah, that relationship is really good. The voice actors are really good, and I really like the dad's arc in the movie gets to some wild places.
Yes, yes. The dad's arc is phenomenal, which I guess is like the larger thing is like I do think the villain is a little mustache twirly, but I think the ensemble cast is all really well developed within their own spaces and you understand how they each connect to each other very well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I agree. And to that point, you talk about the villain. Again, I don't know a lot about Ultraman, but from what I read when I was writing my review, like I like that's a new thing for this movie. The
Mm,
Kaiju Defense Force being like the villain. That's like Ultraman always has like scientists, allies, not people who are working against. And I think that's a really cool thing. Where
that's
again,
really cool.
gets into the idea of like you wouldn't know without watching Ultimate because we're used to that. Like, oh yeah, of course the military's gonna be against the hero and going to the
Yeah.
kaiju, and that makes sense from an outsider's perspective to bring those people in with a simple story, and then once you get into it, you're like, oh wait, but there's other stuff
Yeah, they
and there's
kind of
other
like
aspects of it.
they like put a piece of candy and you say, "Ooh, I'll take this." And then all of a sudden they just like
Mhm.
unveil like this
Yeah,
large Ultraman
yeah,
epic. Yeah. No, it's
and yeah, you're saying,
no, no, go ahead.
yeah, no, I think like that. So that like that, those little things where if you know Ultraman or even if you haven't seen the franchise, but you know either by osmosis or because you're familiar with other Japanese properties, you can tell like there's a clear knowledge here. Like
Yeah.
this comes from people who are huge fans of the property and like all of these types of stories, and know when to leave it untouched and when to
Yes.
change things,
Yeah.
both to make it better or just to make it different and new.
Yeah. Yeah. No, entirely. Like I said, there's that reverence and understanding and like I think what I love about animation is that and it's gonna sound kind of mean. You can tell when a studio process has stripped it of its passion and its
Mm,
care. And it may sound weird for me to say it's cold because it's not like in live action film and on camera film, you can kind of tell when an actor just isn't in it. But I think the same is true for animation. I think that there is a vibrancy and life that animation allows a creator to imbue in their project. And I think that you can tell when that's been taken out. And I think for me, personally, a lot of American films, particularly a lot of Disney animated films at this point,
very fair.
feel that way. They feel almost like shells, like really pretty shells, but if you blow into it, the air goes right through. And I think that what movies like this remind me of is the immense talent of American animators and the immense talent of American storytellers and what it is like to have that passion and that care and to see it rendered on film and to see it rendered for a property that the director and the creator really love, but I don't know how to explain it. Like there's just so much life here. Like there isn't a
Oh yeah.
single
Oh
piece
yeah.
of this that doesn't feel like somebody put their heart and soul to it and gave it that emotional weight. And I think that that's the beauty of animation is because you don't have a face, you don't have like you are making everything to build those layers of emotion. And I think that Ultraman Rising does that.
And yeah, that's why I said in the beginning that I think this reminded me of when I first watched Into the
Yeah,
Spider-Verse because it feels like a rare movie that comes just once every few years,
yeah,
where you can tell like, oh, they were giving it their all, like they were going all in on this, and whether or not, because this movie does kind of build into more story,
yeah,
um, which I would like to see. I don't know if it's like same as Spider. I don't know if it's gonna be as good and everything, but I would like to see more. But regardless, like it does feel like, oh, if they never get to work on a movie ever again, they put everything into this one,
yeah,
and it shows.
yeah. Yeah, I really have nothing negative to say.
Oh, me neither.
Like I think that this is probably like this is easily going to be the best animated film of the year. I think it's going to be one of the
Yeah,
best films of the year overall, and I think that if you stack it up against last year's lineup, which was really strong, I still think it holds its own. And
yeah.
yeah, I love it. I love it. Go watch it. I have nothing
I
negative.
I cried, I laughed, I still think
Yes.
about it.
Oh
It
my
is so
God.
good.
I started just weeping. Like
I mean,
there's some scenes that just hit.
it shouldn't be surprising given Lost Ollie of it all, but yes,
Yeah. Well, and I think that
but
that's like,
still,
well, and I think that like that's what kind of struck me about it is because of the proportions of little baby Emmy and the way she looks, you would think
yeah,
that there wouldn't be that like that there would be a there'd be a bridge of empathy between you and Emmy, but it wouldn't be you wouldn't be crossing it constantly. And I think by the
right,
end of the film, like I'm just there and I'm just like I want to hold her and take care of her because there's a scene
right.
where she gets injured and like my
Eh,
stomach dropped so much. And I think that like, yeah, that's a skill. Like it was very good. I saw her as a baby and I
Yeah,
just
Amy's easily the best like on-screen alien weird creature baby in years.
yes. Oh yeah.
And yes, I'm saying it. She's better than Baby Yoda. I'm saying it. Yes.
Yes, she is. Yeah. No, Emmy is
In no
better.
small part because she actually moves like like an actual creature, not a puppet. And I love puppets, but still.
Yeah. But yeah, Raphael, I'm assuming you want people to watch this movie.
Yes.
Okay. Any last thoughts?
I'm gonna see it again. I'm gonna see it again.
Oh yeah, no, I'm gonna watch it again. Of course.
Yeah.
But
What
with
score will
that,
you give it?
Raphael, oh, this is what's hard because
I
like
know.
my only critique is is that the villain is little mustache twirly, but camp
I
is a
didn't have a
part
big
of
problem with that.
yeah, that's the thing. Like if I'm nitpicking, it's that, but even then it's not that big an issue because of how it ends. And so
Yeah.
it's a 10 for me, man. I would
Same.
change nothing about it. It's a
No.
10. It's a 10.
Yeah.
It's a perfect
Yeah.
movie. Uh
It is.
everybody go watch it. Raphael, where can people find you?
I'm on the internet and all of the socials and the medias at Rafael Montemayor. You can find my review of this, written review at The Wrap at some point whenever the embargo's out, whenever this goes out. Yeah.
And you can find me at Randier on all of the social medias and on the internet at butwhythough.net. You can read my written review of the film underneath there. Click it, read it. Yeah, it's a 10 from me, y'all. It's a 10 from Raphael. Go watch this movie. I want
Watch
more.
this movie. Amy will be sad and cry if you don't. You don't
Yes,
want to make Amy
yes.
sad.